The emergency clause was not an it's a tool that we have to be able to say we would like to start the adoption of the code sooner than waiting the 30 days. And part of the reason we did that was because at the time our process and the way that Skylar had explained it is perfect, which is if you decide you're going to submit in an application right now, we would be compelled to have you meet all the requirements that are available right then and there. So if we did not have a food card application process, so what that meant is that if you submitted an application um, on January 27th, then we would have had to run you through basically a larger and more extensive application process. It's our development review application process. That meant that we would need things like we would potentially need to have you look at getting a transportation analysis. It might have required you to go and I'm trying to think of other applications off the fly. But there are multiple other requirements with our larger applications. And again, brick and mortar is a good example where if you're going to build something more substantial, we're going to require you to do more studies and evaluations. We were trying to set the application process available as effective the date of it. So the emergency component of it was just a matter of saying, we think we should have a process that was clearer for folks to be able to submit their applications in because we were getting applications in for it. And what we were doing during the process was have them go through what's known as a pre-application conference. So you had to come into a meeting first just to talk about your application, and then you would have to go through another application. So instead of doing all that, we said, why don't we create a food cart process that would allow you to just submit that application in and address specifically the standards of food carts instead of having to address the issue, larger issues that we normally would have with larger developments. So that was why it was an emergency clause. It was not changing anything when it came to what we would review. It made it clearer because as applicants were coming in and looking at food cart applications, we were asking the same questions. How is your spacing between your carts? Is your cart fully on a paved surface? How are you planning to connect into your fats? How are your fats, oils, and grease? Those questions were still being asked. The difference was it wasn't very clear. And so we said, let's make sure the standards are clear. Here are what you need to specifically know. It did not mean that on January 28th, we weren't requiring that. We were having those conversations. What are you going to do if you decided to put a canopy or awning? Do you have a bathroom? Those questions were still being asked. The only difference is we didn't have clear direction for our food cart vendors who are coming in because they're like, well, what do we need to know? And so hopefully, is that